Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas visiting with Jason Bruckner this morning. He is from Brave Daily. Perhaps you've heard of Brave Reviews, and perhaps you haven't. So we're going to find out all about all of that. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
First of all, you have gone through some changes. Let's go back to the beginning. What was your inspiration to start Brave Reviews?
Yeah, so Brave Reviews kind of came out of, I got to tell my story a little bit, but my story is that I'm from Akron and Canton area, and I went to school thinking I was going to be in the pastorate. So I started at Malone in Bible and Theology, Youth and Sports Ministry degrees. I was a double major and really thought I was going to be either in the pastorate or working in the academy somehow. So when I finished at Malone, I went on to Wheaton College out in Chicagoland and studied there and finished a master's in biblical exegesis out there. So I was deep into languages, heavy into reading. I would write to reflect on things, and kind of fell in love with reading and writing. And
that's interesting because a lot of people, by the time they're done, say, "I'm never reading another book as long as
no more books." Yeah. So when I finished, my wife and I were talking about where we would go next, and we kind of came over to Ohio. Lived here for a little bit, and I was interviewing at different churches and even some adjunct teaching at Malone in that time, and kind of juggling a lot of things, but I kept reading. And I thought, well, shoot, I could make a website, a blog to kind of gather my thoughts as I keep reading. And it was a review website, pretty basic. I don't know, minimal.
These reviews of what you were reading, was this something that most of us would be reading, or was this more heavy duty theological, professional work that or scholarly work that you would have been looking at? Or
it's both and.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were some mainstream Christian living titles mixed in there. I mean, to think of some off the top of my head were like Rob Bell and Donald Miller, kind of just casual reading, just reflective journal type reading. But yeah, I kept reading in the academic world too, to kind of keep that top of mind. So there were some heavier, more language based or commentaries, or even More Light on the Path is a Greek based daily devotional. So I was kind of toying with some of that, and so just kept reading. And as the website progressed, it went from a blog to what I would call like a website. And I gave it the title of Brave Daily, or of Brave Reviews, back in 2012, 2013.
Was this just you doing the reading and the writing at that point?
Yeah, so at that point it was just me. And
this was a blog that turned into a website.
Yeah.
Was this paid work at all, or this was just a labor of love?
It was just, I guess, a labor of reflection. And honestly, that's kind of how I learn and reflect. So I've always had a hard time with daily devotions and that sort of thing, or like group reading or something like that. And so I can take a book, and when I actually take time to think about what I read and even review it, and I'm not reviewing it in the sense of like Amazon reviews necessarily, where I give it 3 stars out of 5 because of whatever reason. But I'm just kind of, I think they call them executive summaries is a lot of times what they call it, but I don't want to give it that title and make it sound scary. It's, 600 or 800 word reflections on what in the world I just read through. So yeah, it morphed kind of into a blog, or into a website from a blog. And
but this kept you accountable because you had to write about it. So even in your own daily devotions, that was keeping you committed to doing it, because you had people counting on you to let them know what you thought of it.
Right. And there was another, so that kind of segues into another accountability side of things, is that publishing houses started to they were seeing what I was doing. And because of that, a few of them started to reach out and ask if I'd be interested in reviewing some of their works. And
let me stop you right there. That is really cool that you, young guy, just writing about the things that you're reading, get the attention of publishing houses. Did you do anything to market yourself?
Right. So
how did you get in front of them?
That
just a God thing?
It's probably a lot of both.
Okay.
I did a lot of work to make it happen.
Tell us how.
I went into marketing, and that's actually the world I'm in now, which is a journey in and of itself. So I thought I was going to be in the pastorate, and now I work day to day in marketing in North Canton. And so I can talk about that in a second. But what I do what I did to get to that place was a lot of, silly social media, or how I can get my blog in front of other people by posting it on different places, or how I can get authors and publishing houses to actually talk about my stuff. And so it would be some phone calls or some emails. We did interviews back then, but we're doing a lot more now.
I know one trick they always tell us is go to somebody who's already a popular blogger and start to comment on them and really read their blog and comment on them, and then become friends with them, and then introduce them to your blog as well. And that's a nice way to just network blogs.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it morphed into more than just me writing, actually. And so there were a few different writers early on who saw what I was doing. They started following what I was doing, and then they said, well, do you need help? And I said, I do need help, because now I've got people sending me books.
I can't read all these books.
I've got a website to keep up. I've got relationships to continue to build.
And you're newly married, right? That's important.
Yeah, right. And I was looking for a job at the time. And
oh, my goodness.
So there was just a lot of juggling of different things. And so when someone would reach out and ask if they could guest post or if they can write something, I'd say sure. And some of those turned into recurring reviews on the website. And so, early on it was the Brave Reviews. It was me and a few different people just writing book reviews and helping to support the publishing industry. And so that's how it all started, I guess. So it's a long story to say how it started.
So how did it change to Brave Daily? Has the focus changed?
So the focus has changed a bit. Early on, it was what I saw was equipping leadership. I saw leaders in churches trying, they have a lot of admin work. They have a lot of stuff that they have to do day to day. They have visits to do, but then they've also got sermons to prep for, and they've got even you think of a community group leader or a life group leader, and how they have to stay equipped and they have to keep reading. And I kind of saw this as an out for people to stay up on what was being published, because a lot changes. Not all. It's not like it's impossible to keep up with, but a lot changes, and you've got to keep up with it somehow. And I saw this as a service to that. And as these writers started coming on board, I think of one that was a student at Malone, and she just wanted to write a little bit more casually and more blog focused, kind of like reflective, focusing. Like one journey she went on was through the Psalms, and so she just kind of just walked through a handful of Psalms that were speaking to her. And I saw it turning into like, okay, we can have a column for blogs and just something to feed people, and just kind of they can rest in, and then we can have another side that features new content that's being published. And so in a nutshell, that's kind of how the website's set up now. So it's Brave Daily is blogs and news, or blogs and resource focus. So,
and the resource focus can help, as you say, anybody needing prep work.
For sure.
With publishing companies aware of you, and you have all these bloggers and so forth, people providing resources, have you had the instance where a blogger then has a publishing company say, hey, I like what you're doing, for instance, the Walking Through Psalms, would you like to do a book of that? Has that happened? Is that a goal?
It's a goal. I've actually done... a goal of mine is to turn a set of parable studies that I did, like reflective writing on the parables, into a devotional.
Into a real book?
Into a real book. So it's something easily digestible, and it's reflective that we've worked on. So I haven't yet. It's funny that you say that. Like someone just shared something about that the other day, and then I talked about it with my wife the other day, and it's just kind of funny that you said that. But yeah, I do think something that would be great. We do a lot of writing as it is, and I think it could reach more people if it was in a printed format even. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the publishing industry in itself. It's going through many, many changes. A lot of people don't pick up a printed book anymore. They read everything on their reader. There's so many things that are, the technology has changed so that the way we read has changed. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's changed dramatically. I'm coming out, if you're going at the level of academia into like casual reading, there's a big shift there. But some things that came to mind right away was Accordance Bible Software or Logos Bible Software. Those are some powerhouses in the digital marketing or in the digital side of things. And I see more and more people going towards something like that, where they have a full digital library that they can actually research quickly in, rather than sifting through a bunch of printed pages.
Well, and they've made it so that you can highlight things digitally.
Yeah, and
write
Bible
in your
verse
notes.
and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Yes, my goodness, what you've done with that. And then they're even starting with the young people, the Bible for Kids, which is amazing, some of the interaction that they've got going on.
Yeah.
But so digital. But it seems like you're on the cutting edge of that with what you're doing, that here are resources, digital and otherwise.
Yeah.
Yes?
It is. I think it's both sides of things. I actually worked at Lifeway, or what was Berean, when I came back, and I was doing some of this stuff. And so while I was applying to churches, I was working there also. And I was in that space, and, printed books are still being sold. We refer a lot of people from our website to christianbook.com or to Amazon, to the printed side of things. And yeah, it's still a growing industry. And I do think that people love to feel it and to smell. And like, I have this book library in my house, and I, for some reason, can't seem to get rid of it. I hang on to it myself, and I think others are the same way. So yeah, I think there's still that space.
Have you always been a reader?
No, I wasn't. Even in undergrad, I think if a professor would hear me talking about this, they'd be like, really? That's interesting. But no, I wasn't a big reader. And once I got into the graduate studies, I think that's when it really kicked in. And yeah, so no.
And what's interesting, I think, is because with your goal being to get into pastoring somewhere, and yet God has led you down this path for sure. You're pastoring to pastors. You're helping resource multiple pulpits this way and reaching multiple congregations this way. Isn't it funny?
Yeah, it's a good
man makes his plans,
word.
But God directs his steps.
It's really fun. Yeah, I in the About section of our website, it's actually catered towards the leaders, and it's that same message that I said a second ago, and that leaders are busy and that they're juggling a lot, and this is a place to equip them. And that made me think of a recent interview that I had with a pastor up in northern Maine, he pastors a congregation, but he also published a book on the side recently, and he's now become a fan of the site because we've worked together. But it's cool to see him be encouraged at a website like what we have and helping to expand the reach of his book. It's just a small congregation.
Exactly. What a great way to reach other people with your materials when you've got some materials to share. We're speaking with Jason Bruckner. He is founder of Brave Daily, a labor of love. You do have a day job. Tell us about that. What do you do to support your family?
Sure. So I work in North Canton. I work at Sanctuary Marketing Group. And I'm the manager of social engagement there, but we're a full digital marketing agency. So we build websites, and then we create ongoing marketing plans. So it's kind of funny. That's the path that I went in.
Yep. It's so interesting. There's a changing everyday kind of field, isn't there?
For sure.
Anybody who's done social media marketing, any kind of digital marketing, man, you got to keep up with everything. So where do you find all the time, Jason? Because you've got to have your own devotional life. You're doing all of these readings and writings about devotionals and helping people with the resources, and you're a busy digital marketer. How do you juggle all of this?
I have to. It was one of my New Year's resolutions is balance, not resolutions, but one of my goals for the year is balance. And to be honest, sometimes it gets out of balance, and I spend too much time in different areas, but. I set goals that I do in these different areas, and I work with my team to get it done. Luckily, I got people that help me out. So
do you build in rest, time for rest, and a little bit of
sleep
boundaries?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I have to. Yeah.
Yes.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things with anyone in any kind of ministry is just so easy to get burned out because you're being torn so many different directions, and you experience that. You can say amen to that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm married, and so I have my wife there to remind me that I'm overworking myself, or
that's what
I'm doing too much. Right? That's what I feel like.
We're going to take a quick break. Speaking of taking a break, we'll take one right now. We'll be back with Jason after these words. You're listening to Our Community.